The notice was taped to the door before sunrise. No knock, no warning, just paper fluttering in the wind like it had more rights than the man sleeping inside. He woke up slowly, like every movement still asked permission from bones that had learned obedience through pain. One leg, one cane, one home until this morning. He didn't shout, didn't plead. He folded his flag with the precision of memory, packed a small bag, and sat in silence while the landlord watched from the porch, arms crossed, mouth smug, heart absent. No one spoke. No neighbors came. The man limped down the driveway alone. But the land wasn't done with him, because by sunset, the porch was empty, and by nightfall, the sky trembled. When you evict a veteran, you're not just moving a man, you're waking a force. And sometimes the country he bled for remembers faster than the people who forgot. If you believe respect isn't earned with rent, but with sacrifice, stay. This isn't just a story, this is endless stories. And this time, justice doesn't knock. It lands. He didn't hear the paper hit the door, but he felt it. Not the sound itself, but the shift in the air. The kind of stillness that arrives just before something breaks. The sun wasn't even up yet, and already the world had decided he no longer belonged in it. The eviction notice slapped flat against the chipped wood, flapping once before the wind settled and held it there like a silent verdict. Inside, the man had already been awake. He always was. Sleep didn't come easy when your dreams remembered more than you wanted them to. He sat on an old recliner, not reclined, just upright, as if posture was a habit too deep to break. On the table beside him, a neatly folded American flag, a Bible worn thin at the spine, and a wooden box that had seen more miles than most boots. The apartment was silent but not empty. Every wall carried echoes of orders, barked in foreign deserts of names read too slowly at funerals of laughter from men who never made it home. He stared at the door for a long time, not moving, not blinking. The paper stayed there, daring him to break routine. He reached for his cane, the smooth one with initials carved by a corpsman in a tent hospital, and rose without a sound. Every step across that floor had a rhythm learned from years of marching, now slowed by steel and scar tissue. When he opened the door, the morning light cut across his face like a blade. He read the notice, once. No expression, no breath caught, just a long, slow nod. The kind that says, "So it's today then." Across the street, the landlord watched from his pickup truck, coffee in one hand, phone in the other, the smirk already forming, before the veteran turned. "You've got until sundown," the man called, like he was offering mercy, not issuing a sentence. The veteran didn't respond. What was there to say? He'd stood before men more dangerous, with eyes colder and hearts harder, and hadn't flinched then. He wasn't going to start now. He closed the door gently, packed with precision, one bag, 3 shirts, one framed photo of his unit, black and white, grainy, 5 of them, smiling, 2 already gone by the time that shutter clicked. A toothbrush, the letter from his daughter still unopened, and the box, always the box. Inside it, folded in cloth, were the medals the VA once said got lost in processing, the tags of 2 men he never stopped writing to, and a bullet not fired, just found embedded in the sole of his boot the day the convoy exploded. He zipped the bag with the same hand that once loaded mortars in the dark. Then he placed it by the door and sat down again, flag on his lap, waiting not for rescue, not for rage, just for the world to move past him one last time. Outside, life pretended nothing was wrong. Cars passed, a kid kicked a soccer ball off a fence, a dog barked at a squirrel, and the landlord walked the property like a man proud of how well he could ignore someone else's pain. Hours passed. He didn't eat, he didn't drink, he didn't speak. The sun crawled across the wall until it touched the edge of the flag. That's when he stood. No dramatics, no hesitation. He put on the jacket, green clean, with a faded patch still sewn on the sleeve. The name was almost gone, but not forgotten. He picked up the bag, locked the door behind him. Not because he had to, because order mattered even if the world no longer did. When he stepped onto the porch, he didn't look back. Not at the place, not at the life, not at the man watching him from the curb like he'd won something. "Didn't think you'd go so quiet," the landlord said. The veteran didn't respond. Quiet wasn't surrender. It was discipline. It was dignity. He reached the sidewalk, The heat of the pavement felt familiar, like the roads in Iraq, like the tarmac where the C-130s used to land. The sound of wind shifted, a hum, barely audible, then rising. He looked up once, saw the birds scatter, saw the leaves tremble. Far off in the sky, something was coming. Not a storm, not a cloud, but a shadow that moved with purpose. A low thrum of blades, a shape too wide for a chopper pad, a machine that only rose for one kind of man. By the time the landlord turned to look, it was already overhead, and the sun was setting behind it. The landlord's coffee slipped from his hand before he even realized he was holding it. It hit the porch and splashed across his shoes, but he didn't move. Couldn't. His eyes were locked on the sky, mouth slightly open, body frozen, not in awe, but in confusion. Like his brain was still buffering the reality of what his eyes had already confirmed. The veteran didn't stop walking. He didn't look up. He didn't need to. He knew the sound, knew it before it arrived. Knew it in his bones, in the deepest corners of his memory, where adrenaline and regret lived side by side. The thump of rotors, deep and steady, growing louder by the second, not a medevac, not a news chopper, but something heavier, something military, something that didn't come to hover or film. It came to land. By the time the neighbors stepped out onto their porches, the helicopter was already breaching the treetops. Its black silhouette cutting across the amber sky like a blade. Dust swirled in the air. The trees bent as if bowing. The street buzzed with voices, phones lifted, mouths moving, but no one spoke to the man walking down the middle of the sidewalk. No one called his name. Maybe because no one knew it. Maybe because some names aren't meant to be called out loud. The aircraft came in low. Tiltrotor, twin engines, a rare beast, the kind of machine you don't see unless it's already too late. It didn't circle, it didn't hesitate, it dropped. Hard, clean, and with intent right into the landlord's perfectly trimmed lawn, blades scorching the grass to ash debris whipping in every direction. The wind knocked over a patio chair. A ceramic gnome exploded against the bricks. The landlord stumbled back, shielding his face with one arm, eyes wide, rage mixing with disbelief. "What the hell is this?" he shouted. "You can't just land here. This is private, this is my property." But the helicopter didn't answer. It just settled. The engines roared down to a hum, and the back hatch lowered with a hiss of hydraulics that sounded more like warning than welcome. Inside, shadows moved. Not fast, not aggressive, just deliberate. Boots hit metal, one by one. 4 figures, uniforms. Not ceremonial, not dress blues. These were field-worn, combat-creased, patches with no names. Faces that looked like they hadn't smiled in a decade and didn't plan to today. The lead man stepped forward, broad, gray stubble, eyes that had seen the inside of hell and memorized the floor plan. He didn't speak. He didn't have to. He just walked past the landlord like the man didn't exist. Straight to the veteran who had stopped, now standing, firm bag at his side, flag still in hand. The 2 men locked eyes. No salute, no handshake, just recognition. The kind that passes between warriors who never served in the same unit but share the same scars. The lead man gave a short nod. The veteran returned it. That was enough. The second soldier took the bag. The third stepped behind him like a guard. The fourth female, lean eyes like razors, scanned the perimeter without moving her head. The landlord stepped forward, arms raised, voice cracking. "Hey, you can't just take him. He's trespassing. He was evicted. You can't," but his words died midair. The female soldier turned her head, slowly, calmly, and stared. Just stared. It wasn't a threat. It was a statement. "You're done here." The landlord didn't say another word. The veteran climbed the ramp slowly. No ceremony, no audience. Just one last step away from a place that had forgotten how to honor silence. As the hatch closed behind them, the dust began to settle. The engine surged again, stronger this time. The helicopter lifted blades, slicing through the sky like it owed the ground nothing. And in its wake, the lawn was ruined. Burned in a perfect circle, grass gone, soil exposed. At the center, one chair, the landlord's porch chair, knocked over, left behind, empty. And across the street, from behind drawn curtains and narrow blinds, eyes watched. Some in shock, some in shame, none with certainty. Because what they'd just seen Wasn't rescue, it was remembrance. And it had chosen a side. The helicopter cut east across the horizon like it had somewhere sacred to be. Inside, the air was loud, not from the engines, but from memory. No one spoke. Not yet. The veteran sat in the jump seat closest to the hatch, flag still on his lap, hands resting on the fabric like it was the only thing left that made sense. Across from him sat the man who had nodded, the one who didn't salute, didn't explain, just arrived when the world turned its back. His uniform bore no name, no rank, but the weight in his posture, the quiet in his eyes told a different story. This wasn't his first extraction, but this one was personal. The rotor noise faded slightly as the door sealed and the cabin pressurized. That's when he finally spoke. His voice was calm, low, like gravel softened by rain. "Do you know why I came?" The veteran didn't look up, just answered, "Because he asked you to." The man nodded slowly. "William Hart. He kept your name in the book longer than anyone else. Said if they ever pushed you out, I was to bring you back in." The veteran finally met his gaze. "I told him I'd never leave home again." "You didn't," the man replied. "It left you." Silence stretched between them. The other soldiers sat still, heads down, as if this wasn't a mission, it was a moment. "You still carry it?" the man asked. The veteran tapped the box in his bag. "Every piece, even the one that wasn't yours, especially that one." The man nodded. "Good." He leaned back, exhaled slowly. "You remember Fallujah?" "I try not to," the veteran said. "Hart said you pulled 2 men through fire. Said one of them was already gone, but you dragged him anyway." "That's what we were taught," he said. "No one stays behind." The man's jaw tightened. "Except they left you behind. All of you, one by one." The veteran didn't respond because it wasn't a question. It was a confession. The aircraft banked right. Through the window, a vast open plain appeared, and in the center, a structure. Old hangar, steel doors, faded American flag painted across the top. No markings, no road leading to it. Just a shadow in the grass. "What is this?" the veteran asked. "Not a base," the man said. "Not officially. It's where we keep the ones who can't be kept anywhere else." The helicopter touched down without ceremony. Dust lifted, then settled. The ramp dropped. The man stood. "Come on," he said. The veteran followed, cane in one hand, flag in the other. The heat outside pressed against their skin like judgment. Inside the hangar, it was cool, dim, silent. Then the lights buzzed on one by one down the corridor. And there they were. Chairs, dozens of them, lined up like ghosts attending roll call. Each had a nameplate. Some were empty. Some had jackets draped across them. Some had boots beneath, side by side. The veteran walked slowly, read the names, whispers from the past carved into brass. Then he saw it, a chair with his name, and one more, blank. "What is this?" he asked. "This," the man said, "is what comes after honor, after discharge, after the world moves on." He walked to a small table at the end, picked up a black patch, handed it over. No words on it, just a stitched outline of a door. "You're not a soldier anymore," he said. "You're a witness, a keeper. And if you choose to stay, you'll never be alone again." The veteran looked down at the patch, then up. "Why me?" The man smiled, not wide, just enough. "Because when they evicted you, you didn't scream, you stood. That's what makes you one of us." And with that, the door behind them slid shut, not locked, not trapped, just closed. On the world that forgot, so he could finally walk into the one that remembered. The lights in the hangar hummed overhead, but the silence was thicker than sound. The kind of silence that doesn't ask for your voice, it waits to see if you still have one. The veteran walked between the rows of chairs, each one facing a black wall that stretched the length of the building. It wasn't marble, not polished, just cold steel with names etched by hand, some clean, others shaky. No first names, no ranks. Just call, signs, initials, and sometimes nicknames that only meant something to the men who once shouted them across deserts, jungles, alleys, rooftops. The man who brought him here walked a few steps behind. "We don't build memorials for the ones who survived," he said. "We just assume they're fine. That silence is recovery. That waking up every day is the same as coming home." The veteran didn't respond. He reached out, touched a name. Fox 2. No context, just that. He remembered someone with that call sign. Maybe in Ramadi, maybe not. His fingers shook a little. Not from age. From recognition his mind hadn't caught up with. "What is this place really?" he asked. "It's a ledger," the man said, "of everyone who saluted and never had it returned." He gestured to the far end of the wall. Those names, they never got a reply. No ceremony, no flag, just silence. So we built a place to give them one. The veteran looked back at the row of chairs. "And these are for the ones who returned, but not fully. Some come once a year, some come to sit, some never leave." One chair had a photo clipped to the back. A young woman in uniform smiling through a storm. Beneath it, a stack of letters, unopened. The veteran felt the ache in his chest before the memory formed. A bunker, a laugh, then nothing. He kept walking. At the end of the wall was a panel. Touch activated. The man tapped it. A new row of lights glowed to life, revealing a narrow hallway behind steel doors. "Through here is the archive," the man said. "You won't find it in government servers. This is where we keep the things that don't belong anywhere else, Hero." The hallway opened into a room filled with lockers, each one labeled only with a number. No names, no photos. The veteran looked around. "What's inside?" "Sometimes journals," the man replied. "Sometimes dog tags. Sometimes just one item. Something left behind when the world moved on." He pointed to one locker. "Open it." The veteran did. Inside was a cassette, a single tape. No label. He looked at the man. "Play it." He slid it into the old recorder mounted nearby. Static. Then a voice, shaky. Female. Mid-30s maybe? "This is for anyone who still remembers Charlie Team. If you're listening, I didn't make it home. Not all of me, but I kept the code. I kept the silence. I just needed someone to know I still stood, even if no one saw it." Then static again, then silence. The veteran closed the locker. "Why are you showing me this?" he asked. "Because you're the last one still carrying Hart's list," the man said. He didn't trust the system. He trusted people. Quiet ones. Observers. Witnesses. Carriers. Like you. He handed over a worn envelope. Inside 5 more names. No addresses. No ranks. Just initials and one-liners. The first JL. Still sits at the same bus stop. Noon. Every Sunday. No one ever joins. The second CT. Talks to his reflection. Thinks it's his twin. Lost him in Kabul. The veteran folded the paper. "You want me to find them?" "No," the man said. "I want you to remind them they still exist. That someone remembers." The veteran looked at the wall one last time, then turned. "All right," he said. "Where do I start?" The man smiled. "You already have." And as the hangar doors opened, letting in the evening light, the chairs remained facing forward. Waiting, because for every salute never returned, someone has to face the silence. No one really notices a man sitting alone at a bus stop, especially not on a Sunday. People assume he's waiting for a bus, for someone, for something. They don't look twice, don't ask questions. In this town, people pass pain like it's a stranger familiar, but not worth the trouble of greeting. The veteran arrived 10 minutes before noon. He didn't need directions. The kind of places Hart wrote about had a pull stronger than GPS. They weren't marked by coordinates. They were marked by feeling. And he felt it the second he saw the bench. Old wood, paint peeling. A plastic schedule taped to the pole beside it dates long faded numbers scratched by weather and disinterest. And on that bench sat a man, maybe mid-60s, hair combed with purpose, shirt tucked in, shoes shined, posture perfect. Except he wasn't waiting for the bus. He was saluting it. Every single one, as they came and went, even when they didn't stop, even when they were empty. He'd rise, stand firm, hand to brow, hold it until the last wheel disappeared around the corner, then sit again. Alone. The veteran sat a few feet away. Not too close, not yet. He waited, observed. At 12:03, another bus came. The man stood, saluted. The driver waved. He saluted longer, then sat. The veteran leaned forward. "You served." The man didn't look at him, just nodded. 4th Infantry, Nam, 69 to 72. "You always come here?" the veteran asked. "Every Sunday," the man replied. "Same time, why?" The man's jaw clenched. "Because it's what we said we'd do." The veteran tilted his head. "Who's we?" The man finally turned. His eyes were sharp but hollow. Me and Jensen, we made a deal. If one of us didn't make it, the other would show up every week, just in case he did. Did he? The man looked away. No. When did he go? 50 years ago, he whispered. The veteran swallowed. You kept coming. Someone had to. The wind shifted. A newspaper blew past. The man didn't blink. You don't get to choose what haunts you, he said, but you get to choose whether you leave the porch light on. The veteran reached into his coat, pulled out the note. Hart's handwriting. JL, still sits at the same bus stop, noon, every Sunday, no one ever joins. He handed it over. The man stared at it, stared like he was seeing a piece of himself he'd forgotten. Hart's gone. Not really, the veteran said. Parts of him are still walking around. Just not under one name anymore. JL laughed, a small broken sound. He always said the war wouldn't kill him. Bureaucracy would. He left names, the veteran said. Names of those who remember, those who still carry. You're one of them. The man stared at the bench. He knew I'd still be here. He trusted it. The man stood again. Another bus was coming. He saluted. But this time the veteran stood too. Two salutes, side by side. Two shadows cast on the pavement. The bus slowed, didn't stop. But this time, the driver saluted back. The man's arm dropped, slower now, but steadier. That's the first time anyone's ever done that, he said. The veteran smiled. Maybe they weren't looking until now. JL reached into his back pocket, pulled out a small envelope, handed it over. Give this to whoever needs to know, he said. Tell them I'm still here, still standing. But it's okay if I sit down now and then. The veteran nodded. You don't have to salute alone anymore. And as the sun shifted behind the clouds, the bench didn't look so empty anymore. It looked like a place where silence had finally been answered. He lived alone. That much was easy to find. A small apartment above a hardware store that no longer sold anything new. Just parts for machines no one fixed anymore. His name wasn't on the mailbox. Just the letters CT etched into metal, like someone had started carving the rest and changed their mind. The clerk at the store downstairs said he barely spoke. Came down every Thursday at 7 a.m. sharp for coffee and powdered donuts. Paid an exact change. Didn't make eye contact. But sometimes when no one was looking, he spoke. To the window, or the mirror, or thin air. Not like a man lost in madness, but like someone still holding a conversation that had never ended. The veteran waited until Thursday, watched from the alley, and when CT stepped outside, he recognized the posture instantly. Shoulders square, steps precise, not quick, but intentional. The walk of a man who once followed orders without question, and now followed memory because it was all he had left. The veteran didn't follow him home. He waited until the sun rose higher and the world stopped watching. Then he climbed the steps and knocked. Once, no answer. He knocked again. Still nothing. Then just as he turned to leave, the door opened. Slowly, quietly. And there he was. Gray stubble, eyes alert but distant. You with the VA, he asked. No, the veteran replied. Then why are you knocking? Hart sent me. The name stopped him. His fingers gripped the doorknob tighter. William Hart, yes. CT opened the door wider. He always promised he'd find me. Inside the apartment was clean, too clean. No dust, no clutter. Every item placed with soldierly precision. But the mirror was the shrine, covered in fingerprints. Notes taped to the corners, and in the center drawn in marker. I see you, James? The veteran paused. Who's James? CT didn't look at him, just walked to the mirror. My brother, twin, same platoon, same day shipped out. Same Humvee. His voice cracked. Different outcome. He didn't make it home, CT said. But I see him every morning, in here, in me. He talks, I listen. What does he say? CT stared at the mirror. He says I'm not done yet, that I still owe him my voice since he gave me his silence. The veteran stepped closer. Hart said you stopped talking to people, only to the glass. People stopped listening, CT whispered. The glass never interrupts. The veteran reached into his coat, pulled out Hart's note. CT talks to his reflection, thinks it's his twin, lost him in Kabul. He handed it over. CT took it, read it. then laughed short, bitter. Hart always knew how to sum up an entire war in one sentence. He didn't forget you, the veteran said. He never would. But everyone else did, CT replied. Except this guy, he pointed to the mirror. He's the only one who salutes me back. The veteran stepped to the mirror, stared at the message, then slowly, deliberately raised his hand in salute. The reflection copied him. So did CT. 3 salutes, 2 living, 1 remembered. For a moment, no one moved, no one blinked, just breath, just presence. Then CT lowered his hand. Tell Hart I'm still here, he said, still talking, even if the world's done listening. I will, the veteran said, and I'll listen too. As he turned to leave, CT handed him a folded piece of paper. He used to say this was for the last man who still believed in mirrors. The veteran opened it downstairs. Inside, a quote scribbled in tight handwriting, "Reflection is not memory. It's a warning that someone is still watching from the other side." He folded it carefully, and for the first time that day, he looked into the store window and saw more than his own face. The coffee shop was quiet, not trendy, not cozy, just steady. Old linoleum floors, brown booths with scratches that told better stories than any menu, and a radio that never quite found the right station. The kind of place that didn't serve customers. It served time. The kind of place where the regulars didn't need to order because their silence already had a favorite. He walked in just after dawn. Bell above the door chimed not with cheer, but duty. A woman behind the counter looked up, eyes sharp, towel over her shoulder, hands busy wiping something that had already been clean. She didn't speak, just nodded. He took a seat at the counter, 2 stools from the edge. She poured a cup before he asked. Black, no sugar, no cream. First time here, she said. He nodded. Hart sent me. Her hand stopped. The towel dropped. You're late. He blinked. He said someone would come. Before winter. That was 3 winters ago. She reached under the counter, pulled out a faded photo and set it in front of him. 4 men in uniform, one of them Hart, the others unknown, except the man in the middle, his face circled in ink. Name's Derek, she said, Marine. Sat right there every Sunday. Same time, never ordered a thing. Just waited. For who? She stared at the photo. Hart, and whoever Hart sent next. She turned, pointed at the far corner. A booth, empty, except for a cup, still warm, steam rising. I pour it every Sunday, even when no one sits. That's Derek's, it was, she said, until he stopped coming. Heart attack, alone, in the alley behind the shop, the kind you don't feel, just drops you. I found him Monday morning, still had his dog tag in his hand. The veteran stared at the cup. Why keep pouring? She shrugged. Because someone might show up. Someone who needs it more than I need answers. He stood, walked to the booth, sat. The cup was full, hot, real, like it had waited only for him. He wrote about this, the veteran said. Said the real weight isn't war. It's what you keep setting down for people who never come back to pick it up. The woman leaned on the counter. Hard ever talk about the one who didn't drink? The veteran shook his head. He was the 5th, she said. The one who didn't make the photo. Always stayed behind the camera, always gave his spot up. I think that's what Hart hated most. That the one who never stood in front was the one who fell first. What was his name? She smiled, small and tired. You. The veteran blinked. What Hart said, if someone ever made it back here, if someone sat in that booth and asked why the cup never emptied, he'd found the last man, the one who kept everyone else full, the one who remembered to keep pouring even when it hurt. She walked over, refilled the cup even though it didn't need it. I don't know who you are, but if you're holding that journal and sitting in that seat, then the story's still being told. He looked down at the cup, took a sip. Bitterness, heat, history. Tell me about Derek, he said. She pulled up a chair. He used to talk to the cup, not out loud, just with his eyes, like it knew something he couldn't say to me. Said if he stared long enough, it might answer. Did it? Maybe, she said. Maybe you're the answer. He reached into his coat, pulled out the journal, flipped to the next name. But there was no next name. Just a single phrase underlined twice. The one who knows who the story belongs to. He looked up. The woman was watching him, not with curiosity, but with recognition. It's you, she said. Isn't it? "I don't know yet," he replied, "but I think I'm ready to find out." And for the first time, the coffee wasn't bitter. It was warm and full. And finally, it belonged to someone. It was a library, but not the kind where people came to read. The carpet was too clean, the shelves too symmetrical. It didn't smell like paper. It smelled like time, frozen, still, as if the air had been exhaled once and never breathed again. In the back, past the history aisle, past the biographies, no one borrowed sat a single chair. Worn leather, armrests split on one side, positioned not to face the windows, not the aisle, but the farthest wall. Back to the entrance, back to the world. And in that chair sat a man, head bowed slightly, eyes open, hands clasped, not sleeping, not praying, just waiting. The librarian had told the veteran he came every week. Same chair, same time. Never checked out a book, never used the computer. "He just sits," she said, always with his back to the door. The veteran approached slowly, didn't speak, sat down in the chair across from him. The man didn't react, just blinked once. "You're in my brother's seat," he said quietly. The veteran looked down. "Sorry, don't be," the man replied. "He would have liked you." Silence stretched, not heavy, just long enough to test whether either of them truly needed to speak. "You know who I am?" the veteran asked. "No," the man replied. "But you're not lost. You're carrying something. William Hart sent me." The man's eyes closed. "Just for a moment. I figured. He always promised someone would finish what we started." "What did you start?" "We made a deal," he said. "After the war, we each picked a place, a silent spot, no action, no memory, just presence. Every week we'd sit, just in case someone needed to know we were still breathing." "What about the chair? That was his," the man said. "My brother's. He never wanted to see people coming. Said if someone walked in without a friend, it'd break him. He served no. He stayed home, took care of Mom, wrote me every week. I didn't answer a single letter, too busy surviving. Too ashamed to say I didn't know how to come back. And now I sit," he said, "because if someone ever walks in alone, maybe they'll see that they're not the only one trying to remember something they never lived through." The veteran leaned back. "Hart wrote about you," the man chuckled. "Did he say I still flinch when someone drops a book? No. He said you turned silence into a place someone could sit down in." "Sounds like him," he said. He never wasted words. The veteran stood, walked around the chair, and for the first time, turned it, slowly, gently, until it faced the entrance. The man didn't stop him, just watched. "He's not coming back through that door," the veteran said. "But maybe someone else will." The man nodded. "And maybe this time they won't be alone." The librarian brought them both tea, no charge, no questions, just 2 cups, one hot, one untouched. The man took a sip. "If you come back next week, bring a 3rd chair. For whoever still thinks they have to face the wall to stay safe." And as the veteran stepped outside the library, didn't feel like a place of books anymore. It felt like a waiting room for memories that haven't found the words yet. He almost threw it out, almost. But something in the weight of the folded paper stopped him. It had been in his wallet for years, wedged behind an expired license in a dog tag he never wore. Yellowed at the edges, soft from sweat corners, curled like it had tried to open itself. The note was only 4 words: "I wasn't supposed to." No name, no context, no punctuation. He didn't even remember when he wrote it, or why. Just that every time he held it, his fingers trembled like they were trying to finish a sentence that his voice refused to speak. The veteran found him at a rest stop, middle of nowhere. Concrete bench, one flickering light, and a vending machine that only took change but never gave any back. He was sitting with a cup of water, not drinking it, just holding it, like warmth mattered more than hydration. The veteran approached slow, sat beside him, didn't ask, didn't introduce, just waited. That was enough. After 5 minutes, the man spoke first. "You know that moment," he asked, "the one where you realize everything after doesn't belong to you anymore?" The veteran nodded. "Mine was 23 seconds after the radio cut out. Kandahar, Mosul." The man looked down. "Mine was Helmand, friendly fire, wrong ridge, wrong coordinates, right decisions until they weren't." "What did you do?" "Called the airstrike," he whispered. "Said it was clear." It wasn't. You lost someone? The man shook his head slowly. I lost 5, and none of them were mine to lose. He reached into his coat, pulled out the note, held it like a wound. I wrote this the next morning. Been carrying it ever since. Tried to burn it. Rain stopped me. Tried to shred it. Blades jammed. I think maybe it's not mine to destroy. The veteran took the note. Read it. I wasn't supposed to. He folded it, gave it back. Maybe it's not a confession, he said. Maybe it's a message for someone else. Like who? Like the last man who still believes guilt isn't the same as abandonment. Hart, the veteran nodded. He carried you longer than you know. You were one of his heaviest names he should have let go. He couldn't, the veteran said, because he knew you wouldn't. The man blinked, eyes misted but dry. I don't talk to anyone. You're talking now. I don't know how to stop remembering. Don't, the veteran replied, but remember on purpose, not by accident. A truck pulled into the rest stop. Headlights passed over them. The man flinched, then calmed. I didn't come here to meet anyone, he said. I came here because this is the only place quiet enough to think. Then let it stay quiet, the veteran said, but don't sit in the silence alone. The man handed him the note. You keep it, he said. If it survives you, maybe it was never about me. The veteran took it, placed it inside the journal, not in a page, but inside the back cover. Taped flat, untouched. A new chapter without ink. You have somewhere to go, he asked. The man smiled barely. I do now. And when he walked away, he didn't leave like someone trying to escape. He left like someone finally released from watch duty. And behind them, the vending machine buzzed back to life. Spit out a single coin, enough for one more drink. He didn't hang pictures. Not one, not on the walls, not on the fridge, not even the kind tucked into the corners of mirrors that people usually keep when they pretend they're not still holding on. The room was clean, silent, undecorated, like a hotel someone never checked out of. Just a bed, a desk, a chair, one lamp, one lock on the inside. He lived in a retirement building, 2 floors and no elevator. Took the stairs every morning at 600 a.m., walked the hallway once, then went back in and didn't come out again until the next day. The neighbors thought he was cold, quiet, private, but none of them knew the names that still walked the edges of his mind. They just assumed no photos meant no family. But the truth was worse. The truth was every photo he ever took was of someone who didn't come home. He didn't frame memories. He protected them from time, from dust, from people who would point and say, was he a good friend, when they'd never understand that friend wasn't the word for men who'd bled beside you. The veteran found him sitting by the window. Curtains closed, chair turned toward the corner. He knocked once, no answer. Knocked again, still nothing. But the door creaked open, slowly, on purpose. The man didn't turn around, just said, if you're here for rent, I paid it. If you're here for God, he stopped coming in 94. I'm here for Hart, the veteran said. That made him move. Not much, just a tilt of the head. He's still walking, no, the veteran said. But his words are. The man tapped his temple. I've got enough of those in here already. He had you in the journal. Let me guess, he said. Said I was the one who refused to tell my story. No, the veteran replied. He said you were the one who listened to everyone else's and never interrupted. Silence. Then a small sound. A breath. Maybe a laugh. He remembered that. He remembered all of it. Figures, the man muttered. He was the only one who didn't try to save me. Just sat there. Let me rot in peace. That's not what he was doing. No, he was waiting for the day you'd say it out loud. The man stood, slowly, limped to a cabinet, opened it inside a shoebox. He took it out, placed it on the desk, opened the lid. Inside, dog tags, wrapped in black cloth, dozens, each with a rubber silencer still clinging to the metal like they were trying to keep the dead from making a sound. These aren't mine, the man said. They were handed to me, forgotten, misdelivered, or left behind by families that didn't want to remember. Why keep them? Because someone has to, he whispered. Because if no one does, they don't just die. They vanish. The veteran picked one up, ran his thumb over the name. You know their stories. Everyone, the man said. I wrote them down, but I never read them twice. Why not? Because the first time was enough. He walked back to the chair, sat, faced the wall again. There's a folder in the drawer. Take it. It's yours now. The veteran opened the drawer, a thick envelope, dozens of pages, typed, clean, each one titled only by a name. No rank, no date, just a story. The man spoke again. If I put their pictures up, people would ask. Then they'd say, I'm sorry for your loss. And I'd have to say, they weren't mine to lose. You carried them anyway. I didn't know how to stop. The veteran sat. Then don't stop. Just share it. You want to carry them too? They're already with me, the veteran said. You're just showing me where they've been hiding. The man closed his eyes. If you read those stories, don't fix them. Don't glorify them. I won't. Just remember them. Even the messy parts. The veteran nodded. Especially the messy parts. As he stood to leave, the man added one final thing. If anyone ever asks why I didn't have photos, tell them I didn't need faces to remember voices. And as the veteran walked down the stairs, he realized the hallway didn't feel so empty anymore. It felt full of conversations that had never been spoken out loud, but had always been waiting to be heard. The clerk at the shelter said he never gave a last name, never even asked for a bed, just came in on the coldest nights, sat near the boiler, and whispered words no one could catch. Not a mumble, not nonsense, just fragments. Like his mouth remembered phrases his mind had let go. He had a patch on his coat, torn, the stitching almost gone. But under the dirt, in time, you could still make out one word, Sarge. That's what they called him. Not because he confirmed it, just because it stuck. When the veteran arrived, Sarge was outside feeding pigeons like he owed them something. Kneeling slowly, scattering bread pieces one at a time, each motion like a ritual too old to forget. You William Hart's friend, the old man asked without turning. I am, the veteran replied. Too late, Sarge said. Too many already gone. Some aren't. Doesn't matter, Sarge said. I lost them all the same. Some to war, some to peace. The veteran sat on the bench nearby. You know your name? Of course, Sarge said. I just don't need to say it anymore. Why not? Because the name they gave me died in the sand. What's left? It doesn't belong on a mailbox. The veteran held out the journal. Hart wrote about you, said you were the only one who never asked for help, but gave it anyway. I gave orders, Sarge muttered. Different thing. They remembered you. They remembered the uniform, he said. Not the man. Same thing to some of them, Sarge laughed. To the dead, maybe. He looked over. Why are you here to bring your name back? What if I don't want it, then I'll hold it until you do. The old man stood slowly, joints cracking. He reached into his coat, pulled out a photo, torn, burned at one edge. 3 men standing in the back of a truck, smiling. One had an arm around the others. That's me, Sarge said, pointing to the man in the middle. I haven't said his name in 30 years. Why? Because the last time I did, I said it over a body I couldn't lift. The wind picked up, birds scattered. The veteran looked down. He was your friend. He was my brother. Not by blood, by fire. Sarge sat again. They sent his medals to his mother. Mine got lost in the system. They called it an error. I called it a blessing. Why? Because every time I tried to wear them, I felt like I was putting on someone else's skin. The veteran opened the journal, flipped to the second to last page, showed it. He forgot his name, but not his guilt. Sarge stared. He wrote that he didn't mean it as shame. He meant it as testimony. The old man rubbed his hands together, then nodded. Tell you what he said. If I give you something, you carry it, but not to forget, to pass on. I will. Sarge reached into a pouch, pulled out a bullet, wrapped in a note. The paper said, for the last man to remember the first. He handed it over. That bullet never left my chest. They pulled it out during surgery. I kept it, not because I wanted to, because I didn't know what else to do with it. Now it's mine, only if you're not afraid to let it weigh you down. The veteran took it. His hand closed around the metal, cold, heavy, real. Do you want me to write your name down? Sarge looked him in the eyes, long, silent. Then no, but write his, your brother number Hart's. The veteran nodded, wrote the name. William Hart, still walking. And in that moment, the old man didn't need his name back because he had just given someone else theirs. It had been folded too many times. The creases were soft now, like wrinkles on a tired face. The ink bled slightly from a water stain no one could place. But the envelope was intact, unsealed, unsent. On the front, just one word, Mom. He found it tucked inside the journal's back cover, pressed flat beneath a list of names already crossed out. Not discarded, completed. The veteran sat under a street lamp outside a train station that hadn't seen a train in a decade. Alone, sky orange from a dying sun, letter in hand. He didn't mean to read it, but some things don't wait for permission. Dear Mom, if you're reading this, it means I didn't get the timing right. I wasn't brave enough to send this when I should have. Maybe because I didn't want to lie. Or maybe because I didn't want you to know the truth. The truth is, I haven't known who I am since I came home. They gave me medals, sure, handshakes, folded flags, but none of that fills the silence I carry. I sleep with one boot on. I eat with my back to the wall. I cry only when I hear kids laugh because I remember the ones who never got to grow up. And sometimes I walk until my legs give out because stopping feels too much like giving in. I'm sorry I didn't become the man you imagined, but I hope I became the one who remembered those who deserve more. If I don't come back, please don't hang my photo. Hang theirs, all of theirs, because they're the reason I kept going as long as I did. Love, Will. The veteran folded it slowly, not out of reverence, but because his hands needed a task to keep from shaking. He'd carried this journal for weeks now, sat with the forgotten, stood with the silenced, saluted where no eyes watched. And now he knew. The letter wasn't meant for a mailbox. It was meant for a mirror. It was Hart's final truth, not that he'd fallen, but that he'd chosen to leave behind something only someone like the veteran could find. A map made of people. A legacy written in footsteps, not ink. And now, one name remained, the last entry, not written by Hart, written by him. He flipped to the final page, blank, except for a single line scribbled in familiar handwriting. If you made it here, it's because you never stopped walking. The veteran pulled out his pen, wrote one word, Jun. Not a name, witness. Then he stood, folded the letter, slipped it into his coat, turned toward the hill where the sun had just dipped behind the trees, and walked. One more time, not toward the next name, but toward the last silence waiting to be kept. The wind on the hill wasn't loud. It whispered not in voices, but in names. Names carried on boots, on folded flags, on empty chairs, facing walls no one else dared to look at. The veteran stood at the edge of an old lookout point overlooking the valley. The path behind him was worn by footsteps, but not his alone. The notebook lay open in his hand, every page filled, every name circled, crossed, remembered. He didn't know what to do now. There was no next destination, no final letter, no unfinished visit, just silence. Honest, unapologetic, and strangely not heavy. A truck pulled up behind him. Old, military green. Not his. The same model from months ago, the one that drove itself, or maybe just knew where to be. The engine cut. A door opened. Footsteps approached. He didn't turn. You made it, said a voice behind him. The woman who ran the coffee shop. She carried the third cup. Still warm, no steam, just presence. It's yours now, she said, setting it on the ledge. I don't drink coffee. Doesn't matter. It's not for drinking. He looked at her. Then what's it for? She smiled. It's for not being alone. The wind shifted again. The air thickened. He felt it before he saw them. Shadows on the horizon, silent, watching. Not ghosts, not visions, just company. Memory in human form. Hart, Derek, J.L. Sarge. Others, not walking, not speaking, just standing. Like sentinels, like him. How long do I wait, he asked. Until someone shows up, she said. Like you did. What if no one comes? She looked toward the valley. Then you'll have done your part anyway. The sun dipped low. The light turned gold. He took the notebook, closed it, and placed it under the cup. No lock, no monument. Just two things left behind, a book full of names and warmth that refused to fade. He sat. The bench creaked. The chair faced east. Not west, not sunset. It faced the next morning. And that's how you stand watch for those who can't anymore. Not by waiting for the darkness, but by facing where the light comes next. The wind never stopped it on that hill. It didn't howl, it didn't scream, it simply stayed. Like it was standing watch too. Like it had been waiting for someone to sit long enough to hear it carry back all the names that had been whispered across this country without echo. The veteran didn't know how long he had been there. Days blurred, nights passed quietly, no fire, no conversation, just silence. And then one morning the silence changed. A pair of boots crunched gravel behind him. Lighter, less certain, younger. He didn't turn, he didn't need to. The presence was enough. The steps paused, then a voice, nervous, unsteady. Is this the chair? The veteran nodded once. It is. You're him. That depends, the veteran said. On what? On whether you're ready to sit down. The young man stood still, hands in pockets, wind pushing at his jacket. I got a letter, he said. No return address. Just said, go to the hill where the names ended. Someone will be waiting. Hart sent it, the veteran asked. No, it was signed with one word, witness. The veteran smiled, quietly, without turning. Then I suppose you found it. What do I do? The young man asked. You sit, the veteran said. You listen, you remember. And when it's time, you write. Write what you hear, the veteran said. What no one else sees. What never made it into the reports. The young man stepped closer, looked at the chair beside him, the one that had never been filled. It wasn't fancy, just wood, worn. But when he touched the backrest, it felt warm, as if it had been waiting for his hand specifically. He sat, not all the way at first, just rested, then leaned back, and the moment his shoulders met the wood, something shifted. The wind paused, like it had taken a breath, like it was finally allowed to stop moving because the watch had been passed. The veteran reached into his coat, pulled out the journal. Not the one Hart gave him. A new one, blank, clean. He placed it between them. You don't have to fill it fast, he said, but don't let it stay empty. How will I know where to go? You'll know, the veteran said. The world makes noise around forgotten people. You just have to listen for the quiet. The sun crested the hill. For the first time in weeks, the light hit the chair from the front, and the veteran stood, slowly, no rush, no ceremony, just one final movement. He didn't take the journal, didn't take the letter, didn't even take the patch that marked him. He left it all on the bench. And as he walked down the hill, he felt lighter, not because the journey had ended, but because someone else had picked up where it left off. Behind him, the young man flipped to the first page, wrote 4 words. He waited. I arrived, and the wind whispered once more. But this time it wasn't asking anything. It was saying thank you. If you've made it to the end, then you didn't just listen. You stood witness to names without rank, to stories without medals, to silence that deserved to be heard. We don't tell these stories to make noise. We tell them so the quiet doesn't get buried. If this story sat with you, if it made you pause, remember, or feel, subscribe to Endless Stories. Here we carry what others forgot. We sit in the empty chairs. We wait back. So the next person never has to wait alone. Because some stories don't end, they echo.